Broadcasting from the Merritt Hall Studios out of Carson City, Nevada. You're listening to Covering the Field with Big Richard Martin, Gator Gates, and Joe the Answer Ellison.
Welcome to Covering the Field. I'm Joe Ellison, and with me today are my amazing colleagues, Big Richard Martin, Gator Gates, Rockin, Ronnie McKinnon, and Boots McCage. Folks, we're officially in March, which means college basketball is coming down to its most exciting part of the year. It's time for March Madness. Big Rich, what's getting you excited?
Well, March Madness actually started a week early in February. We had 3 buzzer beaters. So let's just call it February Frenzy because we were treated to some great games. Let's start with the Arizona State. They're visiting the number 6 rated Arizona Wildcats in Tucson, Arizona, and they were favored by over 10 points. Actually, it was 12.5. I also thought that Arizona would handle them at home. Arizona goes up by 1 with under 3 seconds to go. I'm sitting on the couch with my beautiful wife, and she is a novice to college basketball and enjoying it. She goes, "Is there a chance?" And I said, "No way in hell is there a chance that they're going to win this game." He's shooting 2 free throws, and there's under 3 seconds left. Well, Omar Balo, the top prospect, the center for Arizona, he misses one, makes one, so they're down by 2. And Damon Cambridge hits a 3-pointer, 3/4 of a court, nothing but net. Everybody's stunned, including me. Everybody's shouting and going crazy in my house, and not very much in Tucson, Arizona. Not very many people up except for the bench, and it was great to see college basketball, Joe. It sees such an emotion that you don't see in NBA's. Why we love this tournament and we love this time of year. It was the kids were running on the court on the sidelines that never get to play, trying to get on the court. They were falling down, running over each other. Just great excitement.
Great rivalry too.
Great rivalry, and I should have known that. They had a 17. I think they were 17-10. I mean, they're not a bad team, Arizona Sun Devils, and so great win, and hopefully that pushes them into it's a great, number 1 win, for them to get into the tournament. So Arizona State, they're going to have to win a couple games in their conference tournament, but they're well on their way. But you could think it couldn't get any better, but it does. We go to Miami, and in Miami, they were favored by over 12 points, which I thought they would cover over Florida State, who has a losing conference record. And the same thing happens. They're up by 25. You think the game's over. I'm dropping the 12, thinking there's no way I can lose this bet. But what happens? The same thing happens. Nathan Cleveland hits a buzzer beater at the end of the regulation. Everybody's stunned in Miami. They were undefeated in Miami. They had the longest NCAA home winning streak at that time. That's over. But could it get any better? It sure did, because we got to go to Iowa. Carver Hawkeye Stadium. Does it get any better than this? There's been more miracles in that stadium since the days of Jesus of Nazareth. I'm telling you, the miracles in that place, I don't know, bring your blind, bring your lame, bring the deaf, bring them to that stadium because miracles are happening in that place. Let's just go back to January 12th, Joe. If you remember on my You Got Host segment, I had Michigan. I had plus 5 points. They were winning 77-70 with 2 minutes left. And Peyton Sanford hits a 3-pointer at the end of regulation. They go to overtime. They cover the spread they win 85-79. And I got hosed on that section. So you think there could be any more miracles than that? Well, the other team from Michigan State Spartans, they come Saturday in. It's even worse. They're down 91-78 with 1:34. No way you could score that many points in that amount of time, I would think. Well, I was wrong again. So here comes the same guy. Sanford sinks another 3-pointer. They make 6 3-pointers in that amount of time. They go to overtime, and they cover the spread. So you think, could it get any better in that stadium? Well, the next day, the Lady Hawkeyes are playing. Caitlin Clark is going against the number 2 team in the nation, Indiana. She hits a buzzer beater. It was the greatest comment afterward in the interview. She goes, I knew it was going in. It felt great the whole way. No way about it. They hit another buzzer beater, 3 buzzer beaters. They beat the top-rated teams. I mean, can we have Caitlin Clark? Maybe she can play with the guys on Saturday? I mean,
she's choosing to play 2 more years of college.
Oh, I know.
She could go straight to the pros, right?
Absolutely. She's one of the top prospects. I think they should let her play with the guys, man. Let her shoot a couple threes for the guys. I mean, after that great win. So we were just treated all that, but could it get any better, Joe, on Sunday?
I guess
it sure did. Michigan is hosting Wisconsin. They're down by 3 with 3 seconds left. They played such a great game to beat Michigan in Ann Arbor. And what do? Dickinson hits a 3-pointer right in front of the score table. It was an NBA Damian Lillard 3-pointer. He hits it. They go to overtime, and they cover the 7-point spread. So miracles all the way going on. And what happens on Sunday, the last game? Rutgers down by 19 against Penn State, thinking they were done. Not so fast, Joe. Hold your wild horses. With under 17 minutes, they were down by 19. They come all the way back, and they beat them by 3. So you got Rutgers +3, and they even won outright +3. So great weekend of basketball. Don't turn the TVs off. Don't think nobody's out of it, because everybody's still in it with these 3-pointers. And Joe, I'm going to give you a little sink or swim at this point. Okay. Do you think NBA or NCAA has a higher percentage of 3-pointers if you did the whole league?
Well,
Sink or swim. NBA is higher.
I'm going to go. I'm going to say college is higher, just because I think it's actually slightly shorter.
It is actually a slightly shorter distance. So you're exactly right, Joe. It is. NBA shoots anywhere between 32 to 39, and it's 35 to 39 in NCAA. And of course, that comes down because who's the guy for Russell Westbrook? He brings the NBA down. Of course, every time he shoots a 3-pointer. But they shoot a little bit better because they're a little bit closer. And if you even look at high school, did this anywhere between 30 to 35%. So there you go. And unless you have Oklahoma State, because they shot 2 of 19, and that is 11%. So Oklahoma State, stay away from the Cowboys.
All right.
Okay, so that was such a great weekend.
Great weekend.
Great weekend. March Madness is already here, and we have who's in the studio?
Well, I was going to say we have Boots McCage here.
Hey, guys.
Hi, Boots.
Hey, good to be here.
All right. Well, Boots, do you have any questions for the panel about the NCAA?
Not yet.
Okay. When you do, let us know.
All right, fellas, let's start with who's winning their league conference. Let's start with the Big 12. And if anyone was curious, yes, I did make a tape in the 1990s with that title.
Okay. Well, we have a star amongst us here in the show. Thanks for coming in the studio. That's the other studio down the hall. But hey, thanks for going on our sports show. Let's start with the Big 12 show. I can't even say that with a straight face. Well, we have Kansas. I think they got a lock on it. They're 13-4. The closest team is Texas. They're 11-5. Kansas
only one game back in the loss column. They can be caught, but Kansas is on a 7-game winning streak right now. It looks like they're probably
right.
They're playing their best ball right now.
Right now, they have their last game against Texas on Saturday, and Texas has a tough road to hoe. They have to have TCU as a top 25 team, and also they end the season in Kansas. So that's going to be good for rivalry week at the end to finish up rivalry week. But I think Kansas got a lock on that Big 12.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right, next is the Big 10.
That was your other show. Okay.
That was the prequel.
Oh, that's the prequel. Okay, all right. We'll go with the Big 10. So Purdue, they look good.
Purdue looks like a really solid team. I mean, Final Four potential kind of team. So
they have lost 4 of 6. Their last 6 games, they've dropped 4 of those games.
Tough conference.
That Big 10 is a tough conference. They're knocking each other down. I think when we see the Big 10, we'll definitely have some good representative in the tournament.
They got the player of the year, right?
Yes, they have the 7'4" Eden out there, and he's just amazing to watch and see him play. And like I said before in the show, he used to be a hockey player. Can you imagine a 7'4" hockey player going down there?
No.
He give another 4 inches with the skates. Here's a big guy, but it shows you his coordination and being from Canada. But anyway,
everybody plays hockey in Canada.
Don't matter how tall you are, how short you're tall.
Yep.
All right.
All right. How about the SEC?
Well, SEC. I mean, Alabama. I mean, that's not even a question as to who the best team is in that conference.
All right. The only question is if Brandon Miller goes to jail for bringing a gun to a murder scene.
Yeah, I'm surprised they're actually allowing him to play.
Well, he's saying all the right things, except for they did the wrong thing over the last game. He had a white team member pat him down as they introduced him to the stadium, which was classless to the lady that was killed tragically. And I think
he should sat down for a couple games for sure. And after that,
well, if they sit him down, they need to let us know because ahead of time, because that will definitely affect the point spreads.
Yeah. Well, that first game back after he got, the story came out, he scored 41 points.
Absolutely. Tore him up.
He's pretty amazing player.
And they were riding him so hard saying, you should go to jail, convict. And he
lock
him up and shake him down, I guess.
And it seemed to inspire him.
Yeah. And so he's definitely one of the best players, if not the best player in the NCAA tournament. So I'm glad they let him play because I definitely want some money on him.
Okay.
All right. Well, Big East is next.
Big East, that's Marquette. They're on the 2 line from what I saw on the
they're rated
tournament.
They're number 6 team in the nation right now, so they're playing very good ball. They're on a 7-game win streak, and they're 16-3 overall. So that's Big East is a tough conference. Yeah. You have Xavier and Providence. They're playing tonight, so one of those teams could get up there to try to catch them, but they're 13-5. There's no way.
No.
Marquette's got it locked up, but that is a tough one, and I wouldn't be surprised if Providence or Xavier won their Big East conference tournament.
Okay, well, we're going to predict that next week.
We'll predict those. We'll have the power conferences next week.
Okay,
and this week we'll just stick with the mid majors.
Okay.
All right. Well, who do y'all like in the Pac-12? Pac-12. Joe, wasn't that the title of that tape that you made in the 1990s?
Okay. One at a time is plenty for me. Thanks. I don't need 12, but it's a nice thought. But UCLA certainly, that's another one of those on the 2 line right there. UCLA looks like a pretty amazing
They've
team.
already won the conference. They've already won the conference out. Yeah, they clinched it last week with their win over Colorado in Boulder, and they haven't won in 10 years. So good job, UCLA. They look like a definitely Final Four team.
Without a doubt.
All right. Well, next up is the ACC.
See, that conference, their tournament starts on Tuesday, I believe, or Wednesday. That's they drag that one out.
Well, usually the ACC is one of the last tournaments, but next week it'll be the SEC and
starting one of the
athletic American Conference. They'll be the Sunday games. And then they'll do after that, then they'll bring the brackets out, which we all get excited.
I was surprised to see Pittsburgh on top by half a game.
Right.
They don't get a whole lot of,
recognition at all. I think everybody's surprised to see, the Panthers up there on top there, but because, the ACC, what do we always think? We always think of, Duke and North Carolina. And they're both
maybe Virginia now that they won a championship a couple of years ago.
Well, they haven't won it completely yet because we have Miami and Virginia both at 14-4. But Pittsburgh plays they have a tough game because they're going to be playing, I believe, Miami in Miami. And, it's a tough place to play. That'll be their last game. So Miami, if they can win out, they could do that. But
we could see
Virginia,
or 3-way tie maybe.
Right. And you'll see Virginia, they're going to be at Louisville, and they've already won tonight. So they have, like you said, they have that 14-5 record.
Well, since that tournament starts, who do you think is going to win that conference tournament? You think? You have any thoughts?
Well, we're going to go over it next week, but I just think I kind of like the ACC. I love Miami. I think that they're just one of the most athletic team. I've got them at 66-1 odds to win the whole NCAA tournament. Nice. But we'll talk about it next week, and we'll talk about this. Winning your conference doesn't always make it a winner.
No,
you're guaranteed. It seems like you're so high playing. Get your you're winning your tournament and getting in and raising the trophy, and then the next week you're playing Iona or you're playing
letdown time,
Bradley, and then it just definitely you open that door, and you have to be lucky to win the NCAA tournament. You have to have some luck somewhere in there. You're gonna have to have a break go your way. So it's not always talent. And then, like you said, this is the time for those who handicap the games. We can really do a better job doing it because home court advantage is so big. And thinking about handicapping the games this week, you have to know it's senior nights on these home teams. So this will be like their last time they get to play at their home stadium. Their moms are there, their dads are there, they're giving flowers. It's emotional. So sometimes you see something like the Mountain West where we saw our Nevada team go down and they're playing at Wyoming, crushed our, Wolfpack, but that was their last game at home in Wyoming. And, they play at different level and they have a different, more excitement there in the stadium, electricity, as we see only in NCAA basketball.
The one team I want to watch in that ACC is North Carolina. They were ranked number 1 in the country before the season started, went totally out of the top 25. And now they actually really need to win this Duke game, they say, or win at least a couple games in the tournament.
They've been winning lately. They're on a little bit of a streak, and you can see these blue chip teams that during this time, that's when they step it up. Last year, if you remember, you could have got North Carolina at 100-1 odds to win, and they got it all the way to the finals. So there's a lot of value in there in these teams. They're highly recruited. They're good athletes. Sometimes they're one and done guys, and so it takes them a little bit longer to gel together as a team. Like some team like Virginia, where they've been together for like 4 or 5 years.
Right.
Well, how about the American Athletic?
The AAC. Okay. Well, that's a one-horse race right there. That's Houston.
Right. And I'm going to tell you right now, Memphis is I'm going to take, of course, Houston's they're the number 1 team in the country. They're probably going to go out and be a Final Four team. Like we said last week, that the Final Four is in Houston, so that gives them a great advantage. But I'm telling you right now, I'm going to take Memphis to win that tournament. I'm going to take right now. You get Memphis at 200-1 odds to win the tournament, the NCAA tournament. But I'm telling you, they're good. They played without their number 1 point guard last time they played Houston, and they only lost by 8 in Houston. They play at Memphis on Sunday, one of the last games of the league conference. They're just a regular league schedule. Watch Memphis. You can get some good points, get some good values. You might even get a money line pick. I'm picking Memphis, and then they're going to turn it around. So then they'll have to play again in their tournament. So at a neutral site.
Okay.
All right. Big Rich, it was probably about 2 minutes ago, I think you said you were mentioning Mountain West. Let's get back to Mountain West.
Okay. Well, Mountain West, there's a two-horse race in that one. We have San Diego State and we have Boise State. Yep. The game last night, San Diego State had that conference won. They were up by 8 and with 4 minutes left and just fell apart. And Boise State caught fire and they ended up winning by 4. So that was a tough loss for them. Boise State, great win. They'll probably clinch them to go to the, regardless how they do in the Mountain West tournament.
It appears going to be Nevada is also in for sure.
Yeah, but man, that's a tough loss. That's a very tough loss for them. It's going to drop them down. They were at a 10. They're undefeated at home, and
they were a 7, and now maybe they're a 9, maybe seed in the big tournament.
Right. And another one is undefeated at home is Alabama, and also Duke. Duke were 16-0 at home. So
okay,
without Coach K,
that's good to be compared to those teams.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Finally, guys, teams to keep an eye on from the one bid conferences.
There's always those Cinderella stories that come up and they just, they destroy these teams that we've been talking about in these strong conferences and they send them home in the first round. I'm going to start with Oral Roberts. And they 2 years ago, they had that big run to the Elite 8. Oral Roberts University, they're 18-0 in their conference, the Summit.
Right.
I would definitely watch them.
Okay, but the second place team is the South Dakota State Rabbits.
Jack Rabbits.
Yeah, and they're always good. If you remember, they knocked the number 1 seed. They knocked a top seed off. I think they were like a 15 seed last year.
And I will say the tournament's in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, so that could be an advantage.
For the Jack Rabbits.
Roberts is in.
And they have won 6 out of their last 7, but the only one they lost to was Oral Roberts, and they lost by 4 points, and they were at home, so that's a tough loss. But hey, maybe they can get a comeback and win the tournament.
Okay, well, they have some tournament experience.
So if you're saying if the Jack Rabbits do win that tournament, does Oral Roberts still get a bid? You think? Or
I wasn't expecting them to lose, but I would think, they would have to get in
with their record.
With their record, absolutely.
Okay.
I didn't really see what their non-conference schedule was, so I'm not entirely sure.
I think they only had 3 losses together, but
Okay.
I don't remember playing anybody.
The Patriot, Colgate, went 17-1 in conference. They're a minus 225 to win their tournament. Oral Roberts was minus 200, by the way. And the tournament is at campus sites. So that has to mean that it's in Colgate where they're playing because they're the number 1 seed.
Okay, yes.
So they look
at some of these mid-majors and the one team they play at their home courts. They don't play at a neutral site. So they will play their home courts.
Vermont, the Catamounts, 14-2 in their conference. They won 12 straight games. And that's another one that should be at Vermont.
Right.
Campus site. Let's see here. Oh, Iona. Rick Pitino is coaching that team, 15-3. That's a pretty good conference. They've won 9 straight. Pitino probably going to be coaching somewhere else next year. I'm guessing maybe like a Notre Dame or something.
Oh, well, I mean, he's definitely done good since he's been there. They made the conference, I believe, the tournament last year. They won this their second time in. If he has it, he shows he's just a great coach. He probably cheats in recruiting, of course, like everybody else does, but we won't go into that. But
he cheated on his wife too.
Oh, well,
he's just a cheater.
Okay, well, hey, if you're betting, I always want to bet on a cheater.
Okay. NC Asheville, they're only like 5-2 in their conference tournament. They went 16-2. Their next best team went 12-6. So looking at that team, the Colonial Conference, you got Charleston and Hofstra, which are pretty solid teams. They both went 16-2 in their conference. Let's see.
Well, on that one, you got to look at Hofstra beat Charleston 85-81 on January 28th. So I think Hofstra would be the one. If I had to pick someone to win that Colonial, I would go against Charleston. Charleston was a top 25 team, if you remember, earlier in the season, but Hofstra has come on strong and they beat them. And so we'll see what happens.
Charleston's the favorite, minus 125, Hofstra plus 170. There could be some value there.
Absolutely.
Missouri Valley, that's Bradley. They won 10 consecutive games. They went 16-4 in their conference. And Ohio Valley, Morehead State. Just to say, Morehead, let's go. But they're 14-4, and that conference has a history of pulling off big upsets.
Well, if they're 14-2 at home and they're 7-8 on the road, so it shows you now. Are they going to be playing in Morehead? Does it say a conference site?
They're at Evansville.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Indiana.
No one in that Ohio Valley has a winning record on the road. Everyone has a losing record on the road. So there's not really. I don't see much in there. The closest team is Texas. I think it's Tennessee Tech, and they've run 5 of their last 7, but they also got beat by Morehead.
Okay, so those are teams I'm looking at to pull off upsets in the big tournament.
Well, we also have to look at.
They have to win their conference tournament, though, pretty much. Maybe not Oral Roberts, but all the other ones have to win their conference tournament just to get in.
And the other ones, there's 3 other ones I want to bring up, Joe. You have the WAC. You have Utah Valley and Sam Houston. Utah Valley's winning that, but Sam Houston's on a 5-game winning streak, and they won 10 of their last 11, so you might get some plus money on Sam Houston. FAU, 16-2 and 26-3 overall. They're also made the top 25, so that's probably a
Conference
good
USA.
Conference USA. And then you have Atlantic 10, VCU, 14-3. They've won theirs, but Dayton did beat VCU 62-58. So that's the second team. So you might get some value on the Dayton Flyers.
Mm-hmm. One other conference, the Atlantic 10. We didn't talk about that. That conference is starting their tournament. It looks like Virginia Commonwealth is a pretty solid team, 14-3 in their conference. And the West Coast Conference, Gonzaga and St. Mary's start their conference tournament during the week.
We could just take our pin and write in St. Mary's and Gonzaga will be in the finals together. Do you think they're both 14-2?
It always seems to work that way.
And they split during the season, so it's going to be. It's always good to see the St. Mary Gales. They always give Gonzaga a tough time.
Okay, well, we shouldn't forget the women. They're having their tournaments too. Respect to the women basketball.
Right.
South Carolina minus 160 to win the national championship there.
And they won again last year. I think Rockin Ronnie had that last year for South Carolina. The Gamecocks have a big chance to win the whole thing over. And also, I just like to watch Iowa, like Caitlin Clark.
So, Big Rich, I guess your picks have been doing okay.
All right. So just button back in here. Got a shout out for Big Rich, killing it this past week in men's college hoops, going 7 for 9 against the spread. All the picks are provided free on our Twitter page. Follow us at Covering Field. Great job, Big Rich.
Well, thank you. It's very tough to pitch against the spread, and it's getting even tougher now that we get to neutral courts. But we'll keep those on the Twitter. Those of you that have been watching it, I know you've been like me cashing in those tickets over there at the Cash Cage. See Boots McCage over there cashing my tickets. She always sees a big smile on my face when I'm coming in with my tickets.
Indeed, I do.
Well, thank you, Boots McCage.
Fellas, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me here. And yeah, let's do this again sometime.
Well, I think next week we're planning on doing it the Why Not, the historic Why Not, and we'll have our conference NCAA tournament kickoff. Because Sunday the 12th is when the brackets come out.
Well, yes, that's right.
So we'll have a big tournament there. Hopefully you can make it there.
All right. I hope I can too.
Okay.
Well, on that note, thank you, everybody. Good night.
So, Rich, what's the news in the National Basketball Association?
Well, the biggest news this week is LeBron is out for at least 2 weeks with a foot injury. Kevin Durant is going to play tonight for his first time with the Phoenix Suns.
And what took him so long?
Well, Joe, that's a question you're going to have to ask him. But I'm telling you, yeah, he's playing, and they want to take it, for sure. He's definitely injury prone, and they want to, they know they're in the playoffs. They know they got, obviously, the bettors are picking them to win the West. I mean, they're the favorite to win the West, and you have to take things, like the regular season, even though there's 20 games left, we're going to see load management a lot. And, I like the way Charles Barkley said that you owe it to the fans to play and not take days off because you can't, you go to one game a year. Remember the time that Stephen Curry took a load management game off and he went to Denver and he took a night off, and one of the kids, that was the game for birthday present to see Stephen Curry, and Stephen Curry found out it, flew him all the way to Golden State, but flew him in and let him see a home game there. So sure got to sign basketball, but you can't do that to everybody. But speaking of Steph Curry, he's probably on his way to come back within a week, maybe two. So we can look at Steph Curry coming back. And talking about the LeBron Lakers, we told you can get plus money for them to make the playoffs. They're currently, I think, 3 games below 500. And LA beat Dallas Mavericks after trailing by 27 points. First time in over 21 years that the Lakers overcame a 27-point spread. So
the game LeBron got hurt in.
He did. And he said he heard something pop, so that's never good. As you guys talked about in your baseball segment, and Lux, when he heard something pop, he had an ACL injury. So it's never good when something pops. And Anthony Davis obviously came out of his coma. He looks great. But tonight, he's going to take another night off. Load management again. He's out again. So if you are betting on the Lakers, it's not a good bet.
Cross your fingers.
Exactly. But the Lakers are 3-1 coming out of the All-Star break, and Oklahoma is, I believe, 3 games over 500 at home, and the Lakers are 4 or 5 games under 500 on the road. So all betting odds, it went from 3.5 when they found out AD was out. The spread's now up to 8 and 8.5. So stay away from that game.
Wow.
But I think the biggest news, we have to talk about Damian Lillard. Dropped 71 against Houston. He made 13 of 23 3-pointers. It was just one of those games that he couldn't miss. I mean, it looked like Jason Tatum in the All-Star game. He just couldn't miss. He actually came in. That's the 8th. He's in 8th place now with that 71. He could have had one more point, could have jumped probably to the top 3 or 4. They took him out with 41 seconds. He could have tied Klay Thompson's 14. If he had another 3-pointer, he would have tied his 14 was the record for 14 3-pointers in one game. And he could have jumped up to 74 points. Mm-hmm. So why take him out with 41 seconds? I don't know. Maybe you want to let somebody else play, but I really think it's time to let him play another game. This is let Damian Lillard at least get one more shot off. Mm-hmm. Would you agree? Or
I would have, 71's enough. 70 is a good number. I probably would have taken him out to let the fans cheer him off the court, and,
I like to see him cheer him off with a 3-pointer at the end of the game and say, Klay Thompson, give you that.
The game was out of doubt at that.
It was definitely out of doubt. So 41 seconds, I guess you need load management again. So I have 41 seconds to rest. I don't know.
It'd be terrible if he got hurt in that 41 seconds.
Yeah, then we'd be another topic. You're correct.
What is he doing playing?
Right.
I mean, he already got 71 points.
Well, Portland's not going anywhere anyway, so why don't you let them, they're not going to go anywhere in the playoffs anyway. So anyway, the other story, Milwaukee Bucks got sold for $3.4 billion, the second highest franchise that was bought. They were bought by the Cleveland Browns owner and some associates. So why not take a team? They've won 15 in a row. We got to buy a team for $3.4 billion. Why don't you take Jonathan 15-game winning streak, and I think you got a good team there. Nikola Jokic. Yeah, he is the sixth player now with 100 triple doubles in the NBA. And he had a great game. If you got to see that game Sunday night against the Clippers, went to overtime, and it was Jokic against the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard, and they were, but Kawhi Leonard, he's just in another league too. I mean, when he just did awesome. They were going back and forth, and I had the Nuggets to cover that, and they definitely did. So good job, Denver Nuggets. They still seem to be the number one team in the West. And LaMelo Ball is out with a right ankle fracture. He's out for the season. So tough job, even though that the Hornets have won, I think, 5 or 6 straight. That's about ready to change without Melo in there.
Right. Well, there was a one neat game. The Clippers and the Kings, second highest scoring game ever. Of course, it took 2 overtimes to do it, 176-175. Right. And
the Kings came out on top. Which makes it even better.
Right. Bad news, Atlanta fired Coach Nate McMillan. Apparently couldn't get along with Trae Young, the star player, for some reason. And that's a playoff team. Yeah. And the coach is getting fired. So. Yeah, they're second behind Miami, and Miami's not playing well. But whoever wins that South Division, they don't look like they're going very far. In trivia, who did Trae Young get traded for on draft day when they got drafted? I'm not sure. Luka Doncic, believe it or not. Oh, okay. There's something about that. Never mind. I was going to say something different, but that's a good trivia. That's great. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Gator? Yeah. The trade deadline is fast approaching in hockey. In fact, it's 2 days away. What moves do you feel were difference makers down the stretch? I mean, who's going to make their team better? Or who's going to make their team worse, I guess?
Yeah, sure do. I follow you. But first off, I want to say that I'm just going to touch on the tip of the iceberg here, because there was so much that has gone on in the last week and a half. And I would suggest everybody go look at all of these, because like I said, just what I'm going to say right here is just the tip of it. But let's start in the East, Joe. I got Washington slid in the standings, so they became sellers in this whole thing. They sent defenseman Dmitry Orlov and forward Garnett Hathaway to Boston. And Boston also received Shane Bauer from Colorado. Now, Colorado received their goalie, Keith Kincaid. Now, the thing about Boston, Joe, is they already have 2 really great goalies. Right. And they've been platooning on them last year and this year. So they didn't give up much.
No, Kincaid was expendable.
Yeah. So
you think the Avalanche would bring him into a backup goalie as the number 2 over Francis?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's what I think.
Yeah, he definitely when he plays, it definitely.
It's not his first team. He also played for New Jersey back in the day.
Correct.
Okay. So
stay in the East, Joey. The New York Rangers. They picked up Vladimir Tarasenko from St. Louis, and they also picked up Patrick Kane from Chicago.
That's a big one.
That was huge. So to top off these last 3 weeks, we're looking at Boston, we're looking at the Rangers, and looking at Toronto as the top 3. So Toronto was in there too, Joe. They received defenseman Jake McCabe and forward Sam Lafferty from Chicago. So Chicago getting rid of everybody. Joe. One more, Joe. I got New York Islanders also required Bo Horvat from Vancouver, which I think is pretty huge.
All right.
Now, in the West, Joe, Nashville had a jaw-dropping move, and I'm going to say this kind of slow so y'all can hear this, but they sent forward Tanner Janot to Tampa Bay. Now, this is the jaw-dropping part. Tampa Bay sent defenseman Cal Foote. They gave up their 2025 first-round draft pick, their 2024 second-round draft pick, and a third, fourth, and fifth-round draft pick for this year.
That's a lot for a guy I never really even heard of before.
He's okay, Joe, but I just wow,
A little too much.
A little too much. And Nashville is also going to be getting Barry Trotz, who's going to be the GM as of June 30th, Joe.
Well, he'll be watching the coaching very closely because he will very likely, I will predict this now, go down behind the bench before very long.
Hey, I'm with you, Joe. I would love to see that. I don't think he should be in the office. I think he should be a coach as well, Joe, but that's just me.
I'm surprised he's not coaching right now.
St. Louis was selling everything, and besides Tarasenko, they also sent Ivan Baratov to Vegas, and the Blues in exchange got a prospect named Zach Dean, who's a very good prospect, actually, Joe. And Colorado sees Jack Johnson coming back. He was on the Stanley Cup team last year, got sent to Chicago, and he's back.
He's back
Yep.
for Andreas England. Yes, and I can throw in a couple more. New Jersey got Timo Meyer from San Jose, really good player. Columbus got Jonathan Quick for this is crazy.
That's way crazy, Joe.
Goalie Jonas Korpisalo and defenseman Vladislav Gavrikov, but Jonathan Quick leaving the
I feel bad
the
for
well-loved
LA.
LA King.
He has done everything to that franchise. They are going to be in the playoffs this year, and to get rid of him, I don't understand.
He wasn't playing as well as the other goaltender you were telling me earlier in the season.
Well, yeah, but he's still quick.
Yeah, he's still a very good goalie.
Yes.
So yes, that was
That's very upsetting to me.
very head shaking.
Yes.
Okay. Well, my man Linus Olmark made the news. My goaltender, he scored a goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got an empty net goal.
And then the next game, he made 54 saves.
Yes.
So this guy's amazing.
Yeah, so that's who to watch. Like I said, in the East, Boston, the Rangers, and Toronto. In the West, it's a little more.
They seem to do the most
Exactly.
in the trade deadline. So look out for those teams. Connor McDavid, the fifth fastest to 800 points. You'll never get all four of these. Well, Gretzky, Lemieux, how about Mike Bossy and Peter Stastny?
Wow, some old names.
Yeah. So, Gator, who's currently hot in the NHL?
Okay, Joe. Well, we were talking about Boston. They're 8-0, but there's another team that I haven't been mentioning, Joe, and it's because they really didn't do anything in the in this deadline, and that's Carolina, Joe. They're 14-3 in their last 17 games.
Well, they got 2 days to do something.
I'm not exactly sure they need to, but if they're going to keep up with those other teams,
I didn't think Boston needed to.
Yeah, I didn't think so either, Joe. I'm with you on that. Colorado 7-1, Minnesota 6-1, and Toronto 5-1.
Okay, and which teams are cold?
Well, St. Louis, they're 0-6, so I'm expecting that to keep going.
Right.
Washington's 1-7. They did get Ovechkin back. And Winnipeg's 1-6, and Dallas is 1-6, Joe.
Yeah. So the team that traded the most away was St. Louis. We can watch them probably dive really hard for the rest of the season.
And I'm thinking Chicago as well, but I don't know.
We shall see. So Gator, you went 4-6 on your picks last week, putting you at 124-66 for the season. That's a strong 65%.
Thank you.
What are your predictions for this week?
Okay, Joe. I have 2 games on Thursday. I have Dallas is going to be at Chicago. I have Dallas. And the Kings are going to be hosting Montreal, and I have the Kings winning that. Now, Friday, I have 1 game. Carolina is going to be at Arizona. I'm taking Carolina. Saturday, I have 2 games. Nashville at Chicago. Nashville should win. And the LA Kings over St. Louis, and LA should win. Sunday, the Vegas is going to be hosting Montreal. I like the home team Vegas. New Jersey will be playing Arizona. I think New Jersey should easily take care of that. And I also have Colorado over Seattle. Now, the thing about Seattle is that's going to be Seattle's fourth road game, and that's in Colorado. So actually, I have 3 games.
Fourth consecutive
road. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Monday, I have Winnipeg over San Jose. Both teams are kind of not playing the best, but it's going to be in Winnipeg, so I'll take Winnipeg. And Tuesday, it'll be Tampa Bay over the Philly. Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to write those down as you were going along. I'm going to check out those picks and see how you did.
Okay.
And we wish you luck on that.
Yeah, now that this deadline's over with.
Well, yeah, now we can get back to normal.
Get back to normal.
Give these teams a week or so to gel. And the bad ones, the ones who traded away all their players, they're going to.
A lot of people, they were sending them down and sending them home. So it was really hard.
They were keeping a lot of players out of the lineup because they wanted to trade them.
It sure was.
We're about 6 weeks from the playoffs.
Yeah, each team has about 20 games left. So a little less. Yeah.
That is so great that they keep that trade deadline so late into the season. It keeps more teams alive. And then they really find out, okay, we can't make it. All right, we'll trade our players.
Yeah,
right.
So
sure.
Big Rich, was there any football news worth mentioning?
Yeah, Jalen Carter had the defensive tackle from Georgia, the 2-time NCAA championship, Jalen Carter. He was on everybody's top board as the best pick coming out of the draft this year. And he got a arrest warrant he was involved with that tragic June 15th. They had a car accident. It was January 15th. I think they had an accident with one of the recruits and one of the trainers or the recruiters. So there was, I guess, now more information came out that they were racing, and he was in his Cherokee's souped up Cherokee that he got in his NIL deal that just passed with the NIL deal. He had his new car. They were racing at over 100 miles an hour. The dead deceased bodies, they had over 1.9 was their alcohol toxic. So, and Jalen Carter just left the scene after the accident. So he has, I guess, in Georgia, we're finding out that it's only a misdemeanor. I don't know how that could be. If you're involved in something like leaving the scene of the crime and, to try to provide some type of maybe some type of medical attention to these hurt people instead of just leaving and going. So they were definitely racing over 100 miles an hour. It's a tragic. I definitely see him falling in the draft. He is not taking any questions. Big surprise at the combine. He's not. He's failed to. He said he's not going to be taking any questions. So, lots going to come out of this. I don't know how he can get out of second degree manslaughter on this. Being racing and causing the death of a teammate and a friend.
Well, yeah, he can afford a really good lawyer.
Yeah, maybe.
And that's about it.
That's about it.
He's going to get out
maybe they can, there's no proof that he was driving. You can say somebody else was driving his car. Somebody can take the heat for him.
I have a really good story
behind it.
When it comes to down to that time.
Right.
So, wow, that's a terrible story. So, guys, we just got through week 2 of the XFL. Do you have any thoughts or predictions?
Well, Joe, I have a hard time with XFL. I think they're moving in way too fast after the NFL season. I think right now it's all about March Madness. So it does take away, but it does give us some good Thursday night football to watch. And speaking of Thursday night football, the Battlehawks came back again. McCarron had another fourth quarter comeback. So, I'm leaning towards the Battlehawks. I like them. And Houston, they covered the spread this week, the Renegades. So they're the 2 hot teams.
Yeah, I like your Battlehawks pick because they're going to be dogs. They're going to be in DC, and I have them down at -2 right now. Yeah, I like that one. I like the dog. They're both 2-0 too.
All right.
So, Houston, boy, they're 2-0. They're going to be hosting San Antonio, so I like that as well. The ones that I thought Vegas when it first started was going to be a great team. They're 0-2. They're going to be at home against the Seattle.
Uh-huh.
I would just think that Vegas, I have them at -3, Joe. I would take Vegas at home with the points.
Oh, I'm glad you said that.
And the other one would be Orlando playing against Arlington. Arlington, to me, Joe, is -8.5. I think that is way too high. They should. I'm thinking they're going to win.
Bob Stoops game. That's Bob Stoops, the Arlington.
Right? But their opponent has lost by more than 8.5 both their games. That's why the spread's 8.5. But I hear you.
Yeah,
I'm staying away from that one.
Yeah. I'll take Orlando with the points. I'm not.
Another thing we have to look at: Carson Wentz just got cut by Washington Commanders. Maybe he will join the NFL since he has no suitors anymore in the NFL.
He has too much pride. He will not do that. He'll be a starter probably somewhere, sometime by the end of the season in the NFL.
Okay,
he'll be a backup, and then somebody will get hurt. Well, I won my pick again last week.
Yeah, Joe.
Of course you did. XFL. I'm 2-0 against the spread and straight up this season, 100%. All I'm doing is just betting against the Seattle Sea Dragons. As I mentioned last week, head coach Jim Haslett, or as I like to call him, Jim Has-Been, is not a good head coach. You know, they have cameras in the locker room at a halftime. He's not even talking to his players. Someone else gave the halftime speech. Haslett is not a leader of men. I'm taking Vegas +3 at home against Seattle. So, Gator. Yeah, okay, we got to shift over to NASCAR. Oh, well, you know,
we could do that.
We're zipping along here, but go ahead.
Okay, sure. Well, qualifying was rained out or snowed out in my eyes.
Oh, yes, Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California.
Yeah, that was kind of neat to see the snow over there. You know, seeing that. But Christopher Bell got pole. We received pole for it, and the Daytona winner, Stenhouse, Ricky Stenhouse, started right next to him. But this is the last race on this 2-mile track, like you said, a D track, and that you go 5 wide on. They are going to make a half-mile track, and that'll be in about 2 years or so, they say. I don't know. Yeah. It seems kind of fast.
You're thinking somewhere in the West, we would have to have a half-mile track.
Right.
And there aren't any.
Oh, I see what you're saying, Joe.
Just to even things out.
I think they're really going to bring because the property value is so high there. I think they'll sell off some of that property and make it a smaller track. That's the only thing I can say.
That's a very good thinking.
You could get really loud there during race.
Well, Gator, how did they get the if they couldn't do practice times and first time they were on the track?
They do it by the point system.
So why wasn't Russ Chastain? He was the number 1 point.
They have some kind of formula that they use. But it's not strictly by points, though.
Oh, okay. Because we had first stage, second stage. I know they get those points off of there.
And Stenhouse started first. He started second. So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's something else involved. Right. I'm gonna have to look that one up.
Okay, good question. But okay, so now Kyle Busch, that's who I took. Kyle Busch, not who I took. Kyle Busch did overcome an early speeding penalty to put a Chevy in first place. It was speeding on pit road. Now this is his 61st victory of his career, and Kyle earned a win in 19 consecutive Cup seasons, and that broke Richard Petty's record, Joe. So long, yeah. Now, we did have 10-car wreck, and that was the biggest wreck at this track. And Kyle Larson, that's who I picked, in the pre-race was talking about not having any problems because he had a few problems over there in Daytona. Well, on lap 14, he had engine problems right off the bat, Joe. And so Kyle Busch won, and Big Richard, he picked Chase Elliott to come in second. So we both got Chevys. Yeah. If we're going to manufacturers, that puts me 2-0 on Chevys. And you're really hitting it.
Yeah, picked Logano the week before and picked Truex to start there. So you're pretty good stuff. You can make I think there's a lot of money to be made on the duels where you can get the money. You can say I had, of course, I took Elliott to beat Truex.
You mean on those matchups?
And the matchups, And so I think that's a lot of plus value.
And that way you're only going up against one driver instead of 42 drivers. So I like that too.
And then Truex had a great race. I mean, he ended up getting a penalty because his wheel fell off, and one of his members that was in charge of putting that wheel on has to serve a 2-game suspension.
That's correct.
Or 2-race suspension.
Yeah, well, the top Ford was Kevin Harvick. He received 5th, and Toyota's Denny Hamlin. He took the checker flag in 6th. He was a top Toyota.
So yeah, Kyle Busch was 10-1, not bad. Chevys were 1 through 4, like you said. So I took your advice and I bet Chevy. It was only minus 110, so I jumped on it. This week is going to be a little different.
Yeah,
but I was pretty impressed by Kyle Busch. He dropped from 10-1 to plus 650 to win the Cup now. So if he's already winning races this early in the season, he's going to be a force to be reckoned.
He joined Hendricks Motorsports, so he, that's a good combination.
Yeah,
we didn't know
Toyota to Chevy.
And went to Chevy to Hendricks, and so we didn't know if that was going to work out because Kyle has a tendency to be a little hothead,
a little bit.
But that obviously it's working great because they already got a win in the second race.
So now the circuit moves on to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
What do you expect?
Well, last year, Joe, in the playoff race, because they raced there twice last year, Joey Logano's Ford won. That last February's race, though, Chevy Alex Bowman won. Now, Chevy is at a minus 150, Joe. And I don't really want to take the Chevys 3 times in a row, but I think I have to because I'm really liking Ross Chastain. He's at 8-1. And he finished 3rd in February and finished 2nd in the playoff race. So I kind of like him.
And this being in Vegas, there's lots of proposition bets also available. You want to jump on those?
Well, I like Ross Chastain against Blaney. I think that's his matchup race. I think that's a very good. You get plus money on that. Kyle Busch, we got to talk about Kyle Busch, don't we? I mean, he took last year on the October race, he took 3rd, and he took 4th on the March race, and he just won a Fontana.
Again, so, all Chevys again. And Alex Bowman, you said won. Joey Logano won. Kyle Busch won last week. Ross Chastain, two out, 2nd and a 3rd, right? So who am I going to pick? Chevy.
No, pick Martin Truex Jr. I'm telling you right now, I'm going against the odds here. I'm going to go on a lot. I think he had one of the fastest cars last week. He just couldn't. He got down the lap when he had to take that tire penalty, and he came all the way to finish in the 7th from all the way back of the pack. So Martin Truex also won in 2019. He always does pretty good. He's always a top 10 finisher. And so I'm gonna take the 2. I'm gonna take Martin Truex.
Yeah, that's not a bad pick at all. No,
get plus money on that.
Especially if you take the Toyotas, and I'm not exactly sure what the Toyotas are, but I'm sure they're a pretty good plus.
Well, we'll look forward to it.
Yes, and we should mention the Formula One season begins Sunday. The Bahrain Grand Prix. It's going to be like 7 in the morning. You're going to have to get up to watch it.
And be on the mothership.
Yep. Verstappen, is he going to repeat as champion? That is the question. He's minus 150.
Well, if you ask all these analysts, they'll tell you yes. There's only a couple that I see that will say that Ferrari as manufacturers are going to have a chance at winning. But
okay.
But Joe, this race, Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz went 1-2 last year. Red Bull lost both of their cars in this race during the last 3 laps. But Verstappen was having problems 10 laps before he retired anyway. He was having all kinds of problems. But I'm going to take the Ferraris, Joe. Now, you want to talk about the practice?
No, I think we'll just go with the picks. I'm going to go with Verstappen, of course, because he looked amazing. And you're going to go with the Ferraris.
Right. The Ferraris didn't go out on their last practice. So we're not sure what we're going to get.
Rockin' Ronnie, do you have any Major League Baseball news to share?
Just a few, just some injuries. We have Mike Soroka. He's an Atlanta pitcher. He's got a strained hamstring. He's been through a couple surgeries in the past. He hasn't pitched many games over the years, and now he's going to be out for a little bit with Achilles tendon, elbow issues, stuff like that. So then we have, did you hear about the Manny Machado? He agreed 11-year, $350 million extension with the Padres. I don't know, so many of these guys are getting those long, a lot of years where they're going to be 40, 41, and a lot of them end up getting hurt at 36, 37, 38,
The Padres have just given away $2 billion.
And again, as a Dodger fan, we know it doesn't matter how much money you spend, doesn't mean you're going to win the World Series. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, a couple other injuries. The Dodgers, Gavin Lux. I feel bad for the guy. He finally gets to play shortstop after waiting behind Trey Turner and Seager for years. And third game, sixth inning, and this is a spring training game. And, he just went awkward into the base. And he's bad. It's not good. He'll probably miss the whole year. And,
he is out for the season.
Yeah, and he had a ACL and LCL injury, so pretty sad for him. Tyler Glasnow, he's a Tampa Bay pitcher. He has missed 6 to 8 weeks. He'll be missing with an oblique strain. And Joe Musgrove will miss a couple weeks. He fractured his big left toe, and at least he wasn't doing something stupid. He was working out in the weight room, and
he dropped a weight on his toe.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's called a kettlebell. It's actually a big round weight with a handle on it, and the guys usually use the ones that are like 29, 40, 20 to 30, 40 pounds, and it dropped on his foot. So yeah, that'll do it, right? And I think, that's about it.
Okay.
Albert Pujols is going to go back to the Angels as a special assistant. So after playing his last year with the Cardinals, he's going to go back as a special assistant for the Angels. So,
well, that's a good story.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Rockin' Ronnie, for the baseball news.
Yep. My pleasure. Thank you.
So we're now to that part of the show where we talk about those bets that looked surely to be winners, but at the end, something went horribly wrong and they ended up being losers. It's a segment we affectionately call You Got Hosed.
You got hosed.
Well, Monday, Dallas Stars minus 278 were hosting Vancouver Canucks at a plus 222. In overtime, Vancouver's Andrei Kuzmenko scored 48 seconds into the overtime to win the game for the Canucks. Now, they did review the goal on replay and said it was a good goal. Now, Joe, I think that they were looking at for goalie interference, or if Andre had his foot in the crease at the time he received the puck. But if you went back far enough, you would see that Anthony Belive, who had the puck coming in, backing in, so he was in the zone before the puck was in the zone. And if you read the rules, it states that the puck has to be across the blue line before the player does. So I would say that if you had a Dallas on Monday, you got hosed.
Poor Dallas. That's one of my teams.
Well, Joe, I have to go with, I was 7 for 9, like I said, on my tweeter picks, and I would have been 8 for 9 if this unfortunate thing wouldn't have hosed me. So Iowa State is at home thinking they have to win because they're on an 8 out of 10. They've lost 8 out of 10. So I'm thinking they're playing West Virginia at home, playing in freaking Iowa State. They're playing on their home court. They got to get a win. So they're up by 4, I believe. And what the player from West Virginia throws an elbow and knocks the Iowa State guy on his behind, totally knocked him out. That's a flagrant 2, right, Joe? If you hit a shot to the face, it was obviously flagrant 2. The guy knocked out. Not only did he knock him out, then he stepped over and continued to teabag him in a place. So the guy tries to kick him to get off. They go over, they look at the review, and the referees say it's a flagrant 2. The guy's ejected for the elbow, but the other guy gets a flagrant 1 for kicking at him because he's being teabagged. God's sakes, get off him. Anybody would have to throw a kick to get somebody over you after they just knocked you out. It's a natural reaction. It's the way I see it, but it went to flagrant. So 2 free throws for each team, which Iowa State missed both. Then they gave 2 free throws for the kick, and West Virginia hits both of those free throws. And then they gave the ball back because whoever had possession during the flagrant, they get the ball. So they knock the dude out. They get the ball back after they both share free throws. He makes a 3-pointer. That's a 5-point turnaround. Probably a 10-point turnaround if you would have just gave us the two shots and the ball. Totally changed the dynamics of the game, and I ended up losing that bet. I got hosed.
More than one morning.
Well, my you got host story comes from that France-Scotland rugby game. I'm sure you watched there, Gator, last Sunday.
I sure did.
Scotland's down 4 points, getting 8.5. They have the ball with a little over 2 minutes left. Scotland can't possibly screw up that point spread, right? Well, wrong. Scots turn the ball over in their own end. France promptly scores a try. Scottish boys watch helplessly as France scores the conversion with no time left on the clock. Final score, France 32, Scotland 21. Anyone who bet Scotland plus 8.5 got hosed.
And they were both down to 14 men with 11 minutes into the game. So that was crazy.
At least it was even.
You got hosed.
Before we wrap everything up, I have to give a shout out to my daughter, Boo Boo.
Hey.
She has her birthday this weekend, and what she wanted for her birthday, she wanted a 500-1 odds ticket on Corey LaJoy. He's 500-1 odds. He came in 14th last year. Might not be a bad pick. There could be some wrecks. Anybody can win. Happy birthday, Boo Boo, and I hope Corey wins for you.
Yes, happy birthday. So that's it for the show. I'd like to thank Big Richard Martin, Gator Gates, Rockin' Ronnie McKinnon, Boots McCage, our editor, producer, and engineer, Cornelius, and all you listeners out there. And next week, we look forward to bringing you another episode of Covering the Field.
You've been listening to Covering the Field. Email us at coveringthefield@gmail.com for all your comments or questions. Find us on Twitter @CoveringField. And of course, always check out the website for our picks of the week and updated articles. coveringthefield.com.